Hello guys, welcome back to Vance Empire TV. Acha kwanza nianze na Happy New Year guys, Happy New Year. Hope wote tumevuka mwaka na tumeanza mwaka vizuri. So, let's continue na series yetu ya kuchambua katiba. So, tunaingia straight to chapter 9. Chapter 9 is about the executive. Previously tumefunga mwaka na legislature, we finished the legislature, so tunaingia to the executive. As I told you last time, the executive consists of the cabinet, the president, the deputy president, and the attorney general. So it is divided into 4 parts. So part 1, the principles and structure of the national executive. Then we have part 2, the president and the deputy president wako executive. Then part 4, we have also the cabinet, and then that's part 3. Then part 4, we have other offices. So here we also have under other offices we also have the attorney general. So what I will do, I will cover part 1 and part 2. Then the other episode will be part 3 and part 4, because part 2 is a bit wide. So the episode I will cover part 1 and part 2. So straight into part 1. Part 1 talks of principles and structure of the national executive. So principle of executive authority. Executive authority derives from the people of Kenya and shall be exercised in accordance with this constitution. Executive authority shall be exercised in a manner compatible with the principles of service to people of Kenya and for their well-being and benefit. The national executive. The national executive of the Republic comprises the president, the deputy president, and the rest of the cabinet. So that is the national executive. The composition of the national executive shall reflect the regional and ethnic diversity of the people of Kenya. Okay. So that is just was the introduction of part 1. So and part 1 ends there. So straight into part 2. Part 2 talks of the president and deputy president. So let's see the authority of the president. The president is the head of the state and government. So hayo ni majukumu ya rais. Head of the state and government. Exercises the executive authority of the republic with the assistance of the deputy president and cabinet secretaries. So cabinet secretaries ni waziri kama mawaziri kwa wingi. Is the commander-in-chief of the Kenya Defense Forces, is the chairperson of the National Security Council, National Security Council, and is a symbol of the national unity. So ukiona rais kulingana na katiba, yeye ni symbol of national unity. Yani yeye ni kama nembo ya umoja wa taifa. So president ama rais hafai kuegemea kabila lake ama kabila lolote lile. So wewe hapo ulipo kitazama rais, mfaa kumuona kama nembo, a symbol ya umoja wa taifa, national unity. So if he doesn't show this, so it's up to you uamue in the next election kutumia kura yako kuifanyia kazi kura yako. If you don't see some of these symbol in the president. Let's continue guys. Katiba ndio inasema, sio mimi na tunafaa tufuate katiba. Let's continue. The president shall respect, uphold, safeguard this constitution. So rais pia anafaa kuiheshimu na kuilinda katiba hii. Safeguard the sovereignty of the republic. Linde pia heshima ya nchi. Promote and enhance the unity of the nation. hiyo yote ni ya president. Promote respect for the diversity of the people and communities of Kenya and ensure the protection of human rights and fundamental freedoms and the rule of law. The president shall not hold any other state or public office. Functions of the president. The president shall address the opening of each newly elected parliament, address a special sitting of parliament once every year, and may address parliament at any other time and once every year. So hii tumeona ya presidential address of parliament, the state of the nation, tumeona ina happen. So this one is working. Let's continue. Report in an address to the nation on all measures taken and the progress achieved in the realization of the national values referred to in Article 10. So hiyo ni state of the nation ama address of parliament. Publish in the Gazette the details of the measures and progress under paragraph 1 and submit a report for debate to the National Assembly on the progress made in fulfilling the international obligations of the Republic. The President shall nominate and, with the approval of the National Assembly, appoint and may dismiss the Cabinet Secretaries in accordance with Article 152, the Attorney General in accordance with Article 156, the Secretary to the Cabinet in accordance with Article 154, Principal Secretaries in accordance with Article 155, High Commissioners, Ambassadors, and Diplomatic and Consular Representatives, and, in accordance with this Constitution, any other state or public officer whom this Constitution requires or empowers the President to appoint or dismiss. So, in short, hii sabato inatuelezea kuwa President ndiye akona authority ya kuappoint hawa wote, Cabinet Secretaries, Attorney General, Secretary to the Cabinet, ndiye akona nguvu ya kuwafuta kazi. For instance, tuliona after the maandamano ya Gen Z, tuliona kuna wale walifutwa kazi na president because yeye ndiye akona authority. Hiyo authority anapata from this Constitution of 2010. Let's continue. Tuangalie other responsibility as a president according to the Constitution of 2010. The president shall chair cabinet meetings, direct and coordinate the functions of ministries and government departments, and by a decision published in the Gazette, assign responsibility for the implementation and administration of any act of parliament to a cabinet secretary to the extent not inconsistent with any act of parliament. The president may perform any other executive function provided for in this Constitution or in national legislation and except as otherwise provided for in this Constitution, may establish an office in the public service in accordance with the recommendation of the Public Service Commission, receive foreign diplomatic and consular representatives. Hiyo tumeona akireceive foreign representatives, confirm honors in the name of the people and the Republic, subject to Article 58, declare a state of emergency and, with the approval of Parliament, declare war. The President shall ensure that the international obligations of the Republic are fulfilled through the actions of relevant cabinet secretaries. Let's see also the other responsibility of a president according to this Constitution: power of mercy. Power of mercy is Article 133. On the petition of any person, the President may exercise a power of mercy in accordance with the advice of the advisory committee established under Clause 2 by granting a free or conditional pardon to a person convicted of an offense. Postponing the carrying out of punishment either for a specified or indefinite period, substituting a less severe form of punishment or remitting all part of a punishment. There shall be an advisory committee on the power of mercy comprising the Attorney General, the Cabinet Secretary responsible for correctional services, and at least 5 other members as prescribed by an Act of Parliament, none of whom may be a state officer or in public service. Parliament shall enact legislation to provide for the tenure of the members of the advisory committee, the procedure of the advisory committee, and criteria that shall be applied by the advisory committee in formulating its advice. The advisory committee may take into account the views of the victims of the offense in respect of which it is considering making recommendations to the president. So in short, power of mercy is one of the responsibility of president. For instance, during President Uhuru's time, I've seen this, and it has been happening even before. President anaweza amua kama jela zimejaa, normally inakuwa zimejaa, ama petty offenders wenye wamefungwa ndani maybe mwaka moja, miaka 2, ama up to maybe 5 years, naweza amua au prisoners wote our release under this power of mercy. Sema mtu yote mwenye amefikisha miaka 5 na zaidi aende nyumbani, ama petty offenders fanya nini, awachiliwe, aendelee na maisha yake ya kawaida kule nje. So normally some of these decisions huwa zinaafikiwa with this committee yenye inaongozwa na the Attorney General. For instance, kotini kumefanya nini, yani jela imejaa. So some of these power of mercy decision huwa inaafikiwa after they have sat down, then they have agreed, then the committee has recommended for this to happen. So the president goes on and exercises this power of mercy. Let's see the other responsibility of a president. Exercise of presidential powers during temporary incumbency. A person who holds the office of president or who is authorized in terms of this constitution to exercise the powers of the president during the period commencing on the date of the first vote in a presidential election and ending when the newly elected president assumes office, or while the president is absent or incapacitated or at other times contemplated in Article 147(3), Sub-Article 3, may not exercise the powers of the president specified in Clause 2. The powers referred to in Clause 1 are the nomination or appointment of the judges of the superior courts, the nomination or appointment of any other public officer whom this constitution or legislation requires the president to appoint, the nomination or appointment or dismissal of cabinet secretaries and other state or public officers. The nomination or appointment or dismissal of a high commissioner, ambassador, or diplomatic or consular representative, the power of mercy and the authority to confer honors in the name of the people and the republic. Continue, guys. Decision of the president. A decision of the president in the performance of any function of the president under this constitution shall be in writing and shall bear the seal and signature of the president. Election of the president. The president shall be elected by registered voters in a national election conducted in accordance with this constitution and any act of parliament regulating presidential elections. An election of the president shall be held on the same day as a general election of members of parliament, being the second Tuesday in August in every fifth year. Hii tumesoma before, and we saw elections zinafanyika wakati gani. Yeah, so let's continue. Or in the circumstances contemplated in Article 146. You can see the other article. Qualifications and disqualification for election as president. A person qualifies for nomination as a presidential candidate if the person is a citizen by birth. So you have to be a citizen by birth if you want to run for presidency, for president in this country. Is qualified to stand for election as a member of parliament. Okay. Is nominated by a political party or is an independent candidate and is nominated by not fewer than 2,000 voters from each of a majority of the counties. A person is not qualified for nomination as a presidential candidate if the person owes allegiance to a foreign state or is a public officer or is acting in any state or other public office. Clause 2B shall not apply to the president, the deputy president, or a member of parliament. Procedure at a presidential election. If only one candidate for president is nominated, that candidate shall be declared elected. If two or more candidates for president are nominated, an election shall be held in each constituency. In a presidential election, all persons registered as voters for the purpose of parliamentary elections are entitled to vote. A poll shall be taken by secret ballot on the day specified in Article 101, Sub-Article 1 at the time, in the places and in the manner prescribed under an Act of Parliament, and after counting the votes in the polling station, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission shall tally and verify the count and declare the result. A candidate shall be declared elected as president if the candidate receives more than half of all the votes cast in the election and at least 25% of the votes cast in each of more than half of the counties. So here famously huwa tunasema 50 plus 1, 50 plus 1% and 25% of at least half of the 47 counties. Let's continue. If no candidate is elected, a fresh election shall be held within 30 days after the previous election, and in that fresh election, the only candidate shall be the candidate or the candidates who received the greatest number of votes, and the candidate or the candidates who received the second greatest number of votes. So ule mwenye kama hakuna mwenye amefikisha 50 plus 1%, 50 plus 1 percent of the votes, ule mwenye alikaribia hiyo 50 plus 1% na ule alikuja wa pili wanarudi kwa uchaguzi after 30 days. So hiyo procedure unafaa uelewe. If more than one candidate receives the greatest number of votes, clause 5B shall not apply, and the only candidate in the fresh election shall be those contemplated in clause 5A. The candidate who received the most votes in the fresh election shall be declared elected as president. A presidential election shall be cancelled and a new election held if no person has been nominated as a candidate before the expiry of the period set for the delivery of nominations. A candidate of election as president or deputy president dies on or before the scheduled election date, or a candidate who would have been entitled to be declared elected as president dies before being declared elected as president. A new presidential election under Clause 8 shall be held within 60 days after the date set for the previous presidential election. Within 7 days after the presidential election, the chairperson of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission (IBC) shall declare the result of the election and deliver a written notification of the result to the Chief Justice and the incumbent president. Okay, let's continue, guys, and see Article 139. This talks of death before assuming office. Okay, so if a candidate has been now elected, is now the president-elect. So what happens if he dies, if he or she dies before assuming office? If a president-elect dies after being declared elected as president, but before assuming office, the deputy president-elect shall be sworn in as acting president on the date on which the president-elect will otherwise have been sworn in, and a fresh election to the office of the president shall be held within 60 days after the death of the president-elect. So deputy president immediately hapo ndio anaingililia, anakula hiyo matunda for 2 months, then elections zinakuwa held after 60 days. If the deputy president-elect dies before assuming office, the office of the deputy president shall be declared vacant on the assumption of office by the person declared elected as the president. If both the person declared elected as the president and the deputy president die before assuming office, Speaker of the National Assembly shall act as the president from the date on which the president-elect would otherwise have been sworn, and a fresh presidential election shall be conducted within 60 days after the second death. So hapo unaona hiyo hierarchy vile ina flow. President amekufa, deputy president ana take over. Deputy president is not there, yeah, the DP is not there, yeah, pia meenda, Speaker of the National Assembly ana take over. For 60 days, we go back again to the elections. Let's continue to Article 140, questions as to validity of presidential election. A person may file a petition in the Supreme Court to challenge the election of the president-elect within 7 days after the date of declaration of the results of the presidential election. Hii tumeona imefanyika baada ya uchaguzi. The other candidate feels like kura zake ziliibiwa, ana file kesi at the Supreme Court after 7 days. Hii tumeona NASA walifile even from the previous election, even 2017 pia ilikuwa I think code pia walifile. So hizi vitu tumeona they are happening according to the Constitution of 2010. Within 14 days after the filing of a petition under Clause 1, the Supreme Court shall hear and determine the petition, and its decision shall be final. If the Supreme Court determines the election of the president-elect to be invalid, a fresh election shall be held within 60 days after the determination. So tumeona wakati wa Maraga when he nullified the elections of President Uhuru, ilirudiwa after 60 days. So these things are practical. Hii ili happen kabisa hapa Kenya, na Kenya ikaandikisha historia in Africa and the whole world. Assumption of office of president. The swearing in of the president-elect shall be in public before the Chief Justice, or in the absence of the Chief Justice, the Deputy Chief Justice. The president-elect shall be sworn in on the first Tuesday following the 14th day after the date of the declaration or the result of the presidential election if no petition has been filed under Article 140, or the 7th day following the date on which the court renders a decision declaring the election to be valid. If any petition has been filed under Article 140, the president-elect assumes office by taking and subscribing the oath of affirmation of allegiance and the oath or affirmation for the execution of the functions of office as prescribed in the third schedule. Parliament shall by legislation provide for the procedure and ceremony for the swearing in of a president-elect. Article 142, term of office of president. Tuangalie term ya president ni miaka ngapi? Yeah. A president shall hold office for a term beginning on the date on which the president was sworn in and ending when the person next elected president in accordance with Article 136 2A is sworn in. A person shall not hold office as president for more than 2 terms. So 2 terms here, one term normally Kenya here is 5 years. Then we go for another election. So if the current president wins, again, become the president for another term of 5 years. So that is the maximum number of years an individual can be a president of this country, yeah, of our country, Kenya. Let's continue. Protection from legal proceedings. Criminal proceedings shall not be instituted or continued in any court against the president or a person performing the functions of that office during their tenure of office. Hatuwezi fungulia president criminal proceeding kesi kotini wakati yako office, so he is protected under this constitution. So utamngoja tu amalize term yake kuwe raia wa kawaida, so that is the time now unaweza mpeleka kotini. Okay. Let's continue. A civil proceeding shall not be instituted in any court against the president or the person performing the functions of that office during their tenure of office in respect of anything done or not done in the exercise of their powers under this constitution. Where provision is made in law limiting the time within which proceedings under clause 1 or 2 may be brought against the person, a period of time during which the person holds or performs the function of the office of the president shall not be taken into account in calculating the period of time prescribed by that law. The immunity of the president under this article shall not extend to a crime for which the president may be prosecuted under any treaty to which Kenya is party and which prohibits such immunity. Removal of president on grounds of incapacity. Okay. So as much as the constitution protect the president, so he can also be removed under these grounds of incapacity. A member of the National Assembly, supported by at least a quarter of all the members, may move a motion for the investigation of the president's physical or mental capacity to perform the functions of the office. So here the office is the office of the president, obvious. If a motion under clause 1 is supported by a majority of all members of the National Assembly, the Speaker shall inform the Chief Justice of that resolution within 2 days, and the President shall continue to perform the functions of the office pending the outcome of the proceedings required by this article. Within 7 days after receiving notice of the resolution from the Speaker, The Chief Justice shall appoint a tribunal consisting of 3 persons who are qualified to practice medicine under the laws of Kenya, nominated by the body which by law is responsible for regulating the professional practice of medicine, 1 advocate of the High Court, nominated by the body which by law is responsible for regulating the professional practice of advocates, and 1 person nominated by the President. If the Chief Justice is unable to appoint a tribunal under Clause 3, the Deputy Chief Justice shall appoint such a tribunal. If the President is unable to nominate the person required to be nominated under Clause 3C, the person shall be nominated by a member of the family of the President, or if no such member is willing or able to make the nomination, by a close relative of the President. The tribunal shall inquire into the matter and within 14 days after the appointment report to the Chief Justice and to the Speaker of the National Assembly. The Speaker shall cause the report of the tribunal to be tabled before the National Assembly within 7 days after receiving it. The report of the tribunal shall be final and not subject to appeal, and if the tribunal report that the President is capable of performing the functions of the office, the Speaker of the National Assembly shall so announce in the National Assembly. If the tribunal reports that the President is incapable of performing the functions of the office, the National Assembly shall vote on whether to ratify the report. If a majority of all members of the National Assembly vote in favor of ratifying the report, the President shall cease to hold office. Removal of President by impeachment. So hii impeachment ndio iko famous hapa Kenya, yeah? This one is very famous here in Kenya because previously tumeona deputy president amekuwa impeached. A member of the National Assembly, supported by at least a third of all members, may move a motion for the impeachment of the President on the ground of a gross violation of provisions of this Constitution or of any other law, where there are serious reasons for believing that the President has committed a crime under national or international law, or for gross misconduct. If a motion under Clause 1 is supported by at least 2/3 of all members of the National Assembly, the Speaker shall inform the Speaker of the Senate of that resolution within 2 days, and the President shall continue to perform the functions of the office pending outcome of the proceedings required by this article. Within 7 days after receiving notice of a resolution from the Speaker of the National Assembly, a Speaker of the Senate shall convene meeting of the Senate to hear charges against the President, and the Senate by resolution may appoint a special committee comprising 11 of its members to investigate the matter. The special committee appointed under Clause 3B shall investigate the matter and report to the Senate within 10 days whether it finds the particulars of the allegations against the President to have been substantiated. The President shall have the right to appear and be represented before the special committee during its investigation. If the special committee reports that the particulars of any allegation against the President have not been substantiated, further proceedings shall not be taken under this article in respect of that allegation, or have been substantiated. The Senate shall, according to the President, an opportunity to be heard, vote on the impeachment charges. If at least two-thirds of all members of the Senate vote to uphold an impeachment charge, the president shall cease to hold office. So hiyo procedure ile inafanyika kwa president is just the same procedure inafanyika kwa deputy president, because we saw it during the impeachment of the deputy president. So it's just the same procedure. Let's continue. Vacancy in the office of president. Yeah. Let's see what happens in the office of the president. The office of the president shall become vacant if the holder of the office dies, resigns in writing, address the Speaker of the National Assembly, or otherwise ceases to hold office under Article 144 or 145 or under any other provision of this Constitution. When a vacancy occurs in the office of the president, the deputy president shall assume office as president for the remainder of the term of the president, or if the office of deputy president is vacant or the deputy president is unable to assume the office of president, the Speaker of the National Assembly shall act as president, and an election to the office of the president shall be held within 60 days after the vacancy arose in the office of president. A person who assumes the office of president under clause 2A or following an election required by clause 2B shall, unless otherwise removed from office under this Constitution, hold office until newly elected president is sworn in following the next regularly scheduled election under Article 136 2A. If the deputy president assumes office as president under clause 2A, or a person is elected to the office of president under clause 2B, the deputy president or the person elected shall be deemed, for the purposes of Article 142 to have served a full term as president if at the date on which the person assumed office more than 2.5 years remain before the date of the next regularly scheduled election under Article 136. 136 2A, or not to have served a term of office as president in any other case. Article 147, functions of the deputy president. So let's say the function of the deputy president under this Constitution. The deputy president shall be the principal assistant of the president and shall deputize for the president in the execution of the president's function. The deputy president shall perform the functions conferred by this Constitution and any other function of the president as the president may assign. Subject to Article 134, when the president is absent or is temporarily incapacitated, and during any other period that the president decides, the deputy president shall act as the president. The deputy president shall not hold any other state or public office. Article 148, election and swearing in of deputy president. Each candidate in a presidential election shall nominate a person who is qualified for nomination for election as president as a candidate for deputy president. For the purposes of clause 1, there shall be no separate nomination processes for the deputy president. And Article 137 1D shall not apply to a candidate for deputy president. The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission shall declare the candidate nominated by the person who is elected as the president to be elected as the deputy president. By the person who is elected as the president to be elected as the deputy president. So hii inaongelea kwa ile ticket ya election, wote wako kwa hiyo ticket moja. So if you choose if you elect the president, you've also elected the deputy president, yeah, because the ticket is one. The swearing in of the deputy president elect shall be before the chief justice, or in the absence of the chief justice, the deputy chief justice, and in public, just like that of the president. Even the deputy president is just the same. The deputy president elects assume office by taking and subscribing the oath of affirmation of allegiance and the oath of affirmation for the execution of the functions of office as prescribed in the third schedule. Yeah, the term of office of the deputy president shall run from the date of the swearing in of the deputy president and shall end when the person next elected president at an election under Article 136(2)(a) is sworn in on the deputy president assuming the office of president, or on resignation, death, or removal from office of the deputy president. So hii ya mwisho, hii sababu ya mwisho tumeiona imekuwa practical when the deputy president was impeached. So term yake iliisha, then we had another deputy president. So these things are happening, they are practical. We have examples to show. Let's continue. The deputy president may resign from office at any time by notice in writing addressed to the president, and the resignation shall take effect on the date and at the time specified in the notice, if any, or if the date is not specified, at noon on the day after the notice is delivered. A person shall not hold office as deputy president for more than 2 terms. Yeah, just like the president, even the deputy president shall not hold a term office more than 2 terms. Yeah. Let's continue. Article 149. Vacancy in the office of the deputy president. Within 14 days after a vacancy in the office of the deputy president arises, the president shall nominate a person to fill the vacancy, and the National Assembly shall vote on the nomination within 60 days after receiving it. If a person assumes office as deputy president under clause 1, then for the purposes of Article 148(8), the person shall be deemed to have served a full term as deputy president if at the date on which the person assumed office more than 2.5 years remain before the date of the next regularly scheduled election under Article 136(2)(a), or not to have served a term of office as deputy president in any other case. Removal of deputy president. Yeah. Let's see how the deputy president is removed. The deputy president may be removed from office on the ground of physical or mental incapacity to perform the function of the office, or on impeachment. So just like the president, even the deputy president can be removed from office. Na hii iko practical, guys. This one is very practical. Kwanza hapo kwa impeachment. Very practical. On the ground of gross violation of a provision of this constitution or any other law, where there are serious reasons to believe that the deputy president has committed a crime under national or international law. You remember these were the allegations that were leveled against the former deputy president for gross misconduct. The provision of Article 144 and 145 relating to the removal of the president shall apply, with the necessary modifications to the removal of the deputy president. The last article, Let's see, remuneration and benefits of president and deputy president. So remuneration hapa ni kwa mshahara ya president na deputy president. The remuneration and benefit payable to the president and the deputy president shall be a charge on the consolidated fund. The remuneration, benefits and privileges of the president and deputy president shall not be varied to their disadvantage while in office. The retirement benefits payable to a former president and a former deputy president, the facilities available to and the privileges enjoyed by them shall not be varied to their disadvantages during their lifetime. So that comes to the end of part 2 and also part 1. I will cover part 3 in the next episode. Part 3 is talks about the cabinet. So you've seen how part 2 was long, yeah? It was talking of the president and the deputy president, still under the executive. So we call it a day, guys. Happy New Year. Continue watching this channel. Continue watching the other videos that are in this channel. Subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. Comment. Weka comment hapo chini, feel free. Wacha comment yako hapo chini. Say something about these videos, about the channel, so that we can improve next time. Guys, Happy New Year. See you on the next